Huge change up between Saturday and the start of this week. We started in we got to the 70s and got to 80 degrees in Fayetteville,
Yeah.
and then we'll drop to the 20s into Monday morning. So huge
Crazy.
changes to come over a 48-hour period. And also this week we've got some stuff to address because I know there's been a lot of shenanigans going on social media talking about
As always, it
as
seems.
always when it comes to wintry precipitation happening this week. And the thing that makes it so hard to, I guess, be able to portray to people is that you got people posting one forecast model from one time frame, and forecast models update all the time, and we see changes, and we watch trends, and we also know how these forecast models work. And there are some forecast models that have different biases that we watch out for. They might trend wetter than what we might actually see. So we'll talk more about that, but I've got to start with what's to come first, though.
Yeah.
And that's much colder air, and that's going to come into our Monday morning. We dropped to the 20s to start the day on Monday. So yeah, after hitting 76 at RDU on Saturday,
Oh my gosh.
80 in Fayetteville, we're down to 27 for a low in Raleigh Monday morning, 27 South Hill, 27 Clinton, 25 Southern Pines, and then 28 in Goldsboro. So yeah, the coats make a return after the shorts and t-shirts made a return last week. We have multiple days with highs reaching the 60s and eventually the 70s, and now we're back to more cold air. So please make sure the coats were not stowed away. It's also still January, so I would hope they weren't stowed away, but got to make sure they're brought out again.
Right. You can keep the shorts on standby.
Yeah.
But keep the jacket for now.
Yeah, and I think this entire week, folks will need to kind of keep the coats on standby just because we have, multiple days of cold weather ahead, and we'll talk about why we'll see that trend of colder air. I want to talk about the Futurecast temperature change. I've loved to use this graphic the past couple of weeks, so I'm going to use it again this week. And you can see the next couple of days, those blues moving in, that's the colder temperature trend. And then into Wednesday and Thursday, a slight increase in the temperatures, really Wednesday. And then you'll notice by Friday, we're back to more cold air, and I think that will stick around through the rest of this week and into the end of the weekend, of next weekend. And yeah, it's just going to be a colder trend really the next several days. So make sure you have the layers ready to go, and also be watching the forecast for later this week because we also might have some moisture that tries to move in along with the cold air. And you'll see that with the upper level pattern too. The trough just moved through, brought us that cold front. That brought us some colder air already, and then you'll notice this new trough up to the north and west. That's going to start to move in starting later in the day on Tuesday, and eventually make its way into the area later this week. Look at Wednesday to Thursday. There's that large trough that kind of settles, really digs down deep into the south, into the eastern U.S., through Minneapolis, Chicago, St. Louis, Raleigh, New York, all those areas seeing this deep, deep trough. And with that, we're going to have some more Arctic air that really starts to settle into the region. And again, with the possibility of some moisture moving into, we'll talk about how that could affect our chances for maybe a wintry mix later this week. Again, I'm still not confident in the exact totals, the exact location of where that sets up. It's just a matter of, it's just something we have to watch, because if we have that deep cold air mass, and we also have some moisture that tries to overrun as well, we can have the possibility for some sort of precip. And if it's below freezing, obviously the upper levels, we could have, some wintry nonsense. So something to watch out for. And I just say wintry nonsense because I know some folks are like, oh, I want snow. And I saw on Facebook that I saw the blues, it's going to get snow. And there's a possibility we could have some snow.
Yeah.
But also if the temperatures are just, barely off, we could have a mix where it's that kind of that gross rain sleet mix.
Yeah, nothing to get excited about.
Yeah, and so we'll have to watch out for that. And the trends will continue to change over the next few days as we get a better idea of how deep that cold air mass will be once it moves in. But I want to start with the Futurecast temperature change for tonight and into the start of this week, because I just mentioned we had that front that just moved through. Mid-40s by 8 p.m. Sunday, and then through Monday morning, temperatures drop to the 20s, 26 Roxborough, 27 Raleigh, some low to mid-20s on the map here. And by the afternoon Monday, with high pressure in place, we will have some sunshine, but it'll still be a chilly afternoon. Highs only reach to around 50, so it will be chilly for the back half of the day. And then Tuesday morning, we're still at around 30, so a chilly start of the day on Tuesday. And then by the afternoon, we reach the mid-50s on Tuesday. So we will see a kind of a slight warm-up into Tuesday and Wednesday of this week. But that's only going to be a slight warm-up. We don't really see any big changes. And the reason why we don't see big changes is because we have another trough, as I mentioned, that moves in. And that trough is really going to bring in some reinforcing cold air for the end of really the middle and back portion of this week. 43 by 8 p.m. Tuesday. I mean, it's still going to be cold during the overnight hours each night this week. So we got a little bit of rain this past weekend, and also, I mean, it was mainly just light rain.
Yeah.
And for most spots. Up towards Roxborough, there was some better rain chances there. So they got some moderate to heavier downpours at times, but most of us just saw maybe some sprinkles here and there. We didn't see that much rain. That front took a lot of time to get to us. And when the front was finally moving through, we didn't have a lot of heating for the lift for those showers to develop. And so we just had some sprinkles here and there, but it really was not that significant of a rain chance this weekend. And so that's not going to put too much of a dent in our drought monitor. This has gotten worse over the past week. All of the state is under at least abnormally dry conditions. 83% is under a moderate drought, and you have a severe drought for now almost 30% of the state. And that's that area and kind of that deep orangish brown color that you see here. So yeah, we're gonna have to watch this trend over the next week or so, especially if we don't get any significant precipitation over the next couple of weeks. This could continue to worsen. And again, a lot of our counties to the north and west are now under the severe drought conditions. We just haven't had a whole lot of rain.
Yeah, and I know today we're recording this on Sunday. Something that I heard Elizabeth Gardner talk about earlier this morning was fire risk today.
Right.
Will that continue for the rest of the week, though?
I mean, ahead of we might get some precip, as I mentioned, later this week, but ahead of that, if we have any brief wind gusts that could lead to an increased fire risk. The thing is, we're going to be dry for the first half of this week, so I think folks should refrain from burning in general, even though it won't be that windy. Since it's so dry and we've been dry for a while, I think in general we need to wait until we have some more significant rain or some sort of precip before we resume doing any burning, because again, we get those brief wind gusts at times, and that could, any accidental fire that sparks up, it could spread very, very quickly. And we've seen that over the past, I'd say month to 2 months. We've had those brief fires that pop up, and then they end up spreading. And you got whole sides of the highway that are burned down because of, or like the grasses that are burned because of it. And so they spread quickly. Please refrain from burning, especially while we stay really, really dry. So the high on Monday is 50. We get up to 56 on Tuesday, 58 on Wednesday, so we see slight warming. But then look at Thursday and Friday. We're going to struggle to make it out of the 40s both of those days. And again, as I mentioned, that's that deep trough that moves in. It brings in that Arctic air mass. That's what's going to keep us colder. Now, these are the afternoons. And when you look at these temperatures, and a lot of folks I've seen on social media talking about, well, we're going to be in the 40s for our highs later this week. Yes, our highs will be in the 40s, but as that deep cold air mass moves in, the overnights could be colder, and with that, and also just above the surface, those temperatures are below freezing. There's a possibility for some freezing precip, and that's what we're watching for. It's going to be a very fine line because we're kind of on the cusp of those cold temperatures. If it was a really deep cold air mass, like temperatures in the teens, that would be different. I think we'd have more confidence to say, if we get moisture, it's going to be snow. But because we're kind of on that borderline, and forecast models have shown that borderline precip, that's where it gets complicated, and that's why I've just kind of left it as mixed precip as possible. And then we'll continue to monitor trends, because we're still 4 to 5 days out. So there's still time for this to change. And even like we saw this weekend, we were expecting some more rain yesterday, and we end up not getting a whole lot. And it's just because one small change happened with that front not moving as quickly, and we just did not get as much rain across our area. We didn't have the heating for the lift for those showers to develop. So it's small changes. I know it's frustrating. Trust me.
You are on the front.
As forecasters,
that's for sure.
As forecasters, we obviously want to get it right. And it is frustrating whenever there's that small change like that, and you predict rain chances to happen, and it's off. It's tough. But this is also a rapidly changing situation. I mean, weather is always changing and changing quickly, especially with just small changes. You can have, a flip in your rain chances. So just continue to stay updated.
Yeah.
We're always going to have updates on the app. And
Yeah.
I was constantly updating rain chances last night because I was like, well, let's say it'll be a little bit drier.
Yeah.
Drop the rain chances just a bit. And
Right.
then later that night, I did the same thing.
Right.
The morning rain chance I ended up having to drop because the majority of it ended up being to the south and east, back towards Goldsboro. And I think the majority of it was back towards the coast. We only had some light rain towards Goldsboro. So,
Gotcha.
yeah, always changing.
Yeah.
And also, I was told this before I got here, and it's been reinforced since I've got here. The weather in North Carolina in particular is ever changing.
Yes.
I think before
A lot to handle.
it was like people would tell me in Alabama, like, oh, you know, you'll see rain at one point. Just wait an hour and you won't have rain. That's because we
Yeah.
had the sea breeze that
Right.
moved off of the coast. Here, I think it's different. I think it's like it's the temperatures that have bigger swings. And
Yeah.
I mean, have you experienced that?
Yeah, all my life. Anyone who's from here can relate. You know, you have one day where there's a snow chance, next day it's 70 degrees, next day there are storms. I think like anyone who's from here, and especially living in the central part of the state, this is nothing new
Yeah.
to us, right? And I think like it's super important for people to just be patient,
Yeah.
right? And like make sure that you have the WRAL weather app because like you said, you all are constantly changing things. I know here over in News Plus, we always try to stay up to date on if there's active radar. So really the key is to be tuned in
Yeah.
for viewers so that they can keep track of the changes so that things don't come as a surprise when
Yeah.
maybe they hear one thing really early in the morning and then late at night they're wondering what's going on.
Right, exactly.
The key is to be tuned in.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and I've noticed that. I saw some comments even this morning talking about, well, we were just in the 70s and close to 80. How are we going to have the possibility of snow later this week? Well, when you have deep Arctic air masses like this, you're going to get those big temperature swings, and that's why we could see the possibility for wintry precip later this week. It's not, you know, it's common during this time of the year to have some warm-ups. Now, to warm into the 70s, close to 80, that's not as common, but we're still in January, and so, you know, Earth's natural cycles throughout the course of the year, of course, during the colder months, December, January, February, we get these deeper, colder air masses. And so even if we do have a warm-up into the 60s and 70s, we're still going to have these Arctic air masses that move in.
Yeah.
And so we're still going to have a chance for some sort of wintry precip. So I wanted to show on Futurecast kind of what we were looking at for this week. I want to go through Wednesday and Thursday, and you can see into Thursday some light rain possible by 8:15 a.m. in the morning. And then you'll notice back to the west a possibility for snow. Now I think towards the North Carolina mountains, even up towards Virginia, West Virginia as well, there's a chance for snow there, a better chance obviously, because of the higher elevation. But by Thursday morning, not as much for us. Maybe some light rain is possible. And again, this is one forecast model, and this is a lower resolution forecast model. So this is better for looking at overall trends. And I say that because I'm sure you've seen on social media the posts where it just has a big blob of blue, for example. It's like, oh my gosh, snow, and it's everywhere. It can be
That's it.
I know, and it can be kind of misleading because this is a lower resolution forecast model. So as forecasters, I'm looking at the trend. Are we seeing these big blobs of blue pop up multiple different times through the course of multiple forecast model runs? And then a little bit on location, but again, location can't be honed in unless we have those higher resolution forecast model runs. So this is a lower resolution compared to what we typically use for like rain coming in the next 48 hours. So just want to clarify that. But light rain possible Thursday morning. And then as we get closer to Thursday evening, again, I mentioned the deep cold air mass starts to move in later in the day on Thursday and into Friday. That's when we start to see the mix. You see the pinks, the blues pop up closer to the triangle and points to the north. That's when I'm like, okay, got to watch that, because if that colder air can work its way in, we have the possibility for snow. One thing that this particular forecast model run is doing, and I want you to, again, take this with a grain of salt, because I have seen on social media that it's been like posted multiple times, like we're for sure getting snow. This run brings us snow, and this would be late Thursday and into early Friday. It doesn't last super long, but it brings that possibility for snow late Thursday into Friday. That just means, okay, we're seeing the possibility for it. This is a trend we need to watch. This is a lower lower resolution forecast model,
Okay.
we need to just watch the trends over the next few days and see how this plays out. For now, though, I've left in a chance for a rain-snow mix Thursday and a later Thursday. Then by Friday afternoon, we're clearer and drier across the area. And the reason why we have that possibility, as I mentioned, for this wintry precip is because look at the temperature trends. Below average, our average temperature is already in the low 50s. And so when you talk about below average, that's more so trending towards the 40s. That's going to be for the end of this week and the start of next week. So it is going to be colder, more of the winter feel, and colder than average after just having way above average temperatures.
Yeah.
End of this past week. Saturday was super warm, so yeah, a big flip. So watch out for that. And then the 18th to the 24th, that's when we're watching more for a near average temperatures. So that's going to be closer to the low 50s, lows in the 30s for us. So that's going to be your typical winter feel. All right, so I'll change gears now. Done with the wintry nonsense.
Wintry nonsense.
We'll go to the reported photos that we've had sent in. I'll show you 4 different ones here. Anna McDaniel sent this in. This was a sunset from earlier this past week. Beautiful, beautiful sunset there. And then we also have I believe this was a sunrise. This is from Four Oaks. BJ sent this in. Thanks for sending this. This is beautiful. I love the colors on this.
Yeah.
And I'm always looking out for sunrise and sunset photos, and I'm doing my shifts as well because I'm like, I gotta show these on TV because they always just look so good. So please continue to send them in. WRAL.com/report it. Another really cool one is this is Jupiter. This was taken through a telescope from Stedman. As I would say, an amateur telescope user myself, I love seeing stuff like this because it gives me hope to continue to use mine and look for cool sites like this because this is awesome.
Look at that huge red dot,
I know,
too.
yep.
What is that? Do you know what that is?
I believe those are storms. That's actually a group of storms there, and on Jupiter. Again, I'm not super space.
Johnny Horn, tell us what that is.
Yeah, and also I think Friday.
That's cool.
He mentioned that Friday was the closest point that Jupiter is from Earth. Only 393 million miles away.
Only.
Yeah.
That's like driving to Durham and back.
I know, right? That's not too bad. Give or take, 10 or so minutes.
Yeah, traffic. So there you
go. And then Kimberly Hoke from Wrightsville Beach sent this in. Beautiful, beautiful colors here. Love to see this. It was a nice day for some beach weather, Saturday especially. And make sure to send those photos in again, WRAL.com/report it, especially if we have any wintry stuff that possibly happens. We like those photos too. Yeah. So WRAL.com/report it. Please give those to us. And we love to see them. On the flip side, so ahead of this front, we saw changes across the U.S., and it started with some severe weather back to our west. So I think you have some video to show of the severe weather that it started back towards the Midwest and really towards the plains as well.
Yeah, this is a video of, this is from Oklahoma. Take a look at that. So at one point there were at least 4 different tornadoes reported near Purcell. One of them was an EF2. Wow. This was from Thursday. And I mean, anytime you see these images, they're just really striking. And I think it goes to show just how interesting tornado movement really is when you take a look at these, where you see, like, for example, other homes completely fine. You see the direct path.
Yeah, it's
really fascinating to see.
It's very erratic, and it's usually a slower, I wouldn't say a slower movement, but it's like a more confined movement, I should say. And because of that, there are times where it'll briefly lift and then drop back down again. So you have one home that takes severe damage and another one right next to it that's completely left unharmed. It's different from a hurricane where you just have widespread damage because you've got sustained winds, sometimes over 100, 125 miles per hour, and they're just constantly going for a long period of time. Tornado is just brief, and again, the movement can be erratic, so that causes some issues very quickly, but in sporadic places.
Yeah, and then I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, this was the same pattern that moved across.
Yes, that's right.
So this is from Mississippi, close to Hattiesburg. This is where the video is coming from. Again, several different tornadoes confirmed. There were 2 EF1s, when EF0 reported, again near Hattiesburg and south of Jackson as well. At one point, Fox Weather reported this. They said at one point there was rain totals of 3 inches per hour.
Yeah.
At one, I mean, you can see from that.
Yeah, so I was
rainfall.
looking at, I still follow some of the social media pages from back when I worked in a market that covered Mississippi, Alabama, and Florida.
Yeah.
And I was getting some notifications about the amount of rain they saw up towards Wayne County, Mississippi, which is relatively close to Hattiesburg. It's not
Yeah.
right by there, but it's relatively close. And they had some very significant rain. And on top of that, this area, I mean, starting in Oklahoma, then shifting east towards the deep south, closer to the Gulf Coast, you've got rich, warm, moist air mass that moves in, and that causes severe weather oftentimes in January, February. I know it's a weird time to see that, but when you have these strong fronts that move through, bringing that Arctic air, and you got that really warm, moist air mass that moves in from the Gulf, that can cause severe weather to stir up. And the majority of the instability was back towards the deep south, and instead for here, we just had the chance for some light rain. The severe risk dropped yesterday. We had some light rain, very, very sporadic.
Yeah.
We didn't get much of anything here in the triangle. And then we're just going to be cold to start this week. So that's kind of the swings we'll see. But yeah, make sure to like and subscribe the YouTube channel and continue to stay up to date with what's going on this week, because I know there's going to be a lot still posted over the next handful of days with the trends going on. Make sure to stay tuned in with our team. We're going to give you updates on how later this week is looking. Right now, there's a possibility for a wintry mix. The exact type of precip is still up in the air just because we're still a handful of days out. So stay up to date. We'll have more updates throughout the week.